All right, so for this video, we're going to add in a background to our scene. First thing first, we need to go ahead and find our artwork. So if you go to your asset folder, sprites, inside here, you'll find a folder with _pixel art game backgrounds. And then there's 4 different variations: fantasy, forest, mountain, and village. Any of these will work, but I'm going to go to fantasy and then open up fantasy 2. And then you'll see 3 different versions of this. I'm going to go ahead and use the 2048 version. This is the resolution of the artwork. So I'll click this one. So in here, you'll see some assets that we can use for the background. And here's actually a rendering of what the final version looks like. I like the floating platform thing personally, but there's ones with like mushrooms or something like that you could work with, or like there's a gray background, or this one's like a castle background. Any of these will work, but I'm going to stick with this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab the one that has like a solid background and drag that into my scene and get that set up here. But I will select the asset again here and look and see, well, sprite mode is set to multiple. I don't want that. I want single. This is just one big sprite. I'm going to set this to point no filter again and click apply. And it seemed to have gone away. Well, let me go and zoom and see where it went. Well, the sprite's still there. I just need to reconnect it. There we go. So it didn't really like that change of settings for some reason. That's fine. Now, as far as pixels per unit, we're going to have to set that up a little bit later and we'll adjust it, but I want to get the rest of these set up. So I'm going to grab this first one that's here and then the last one on that row. I'm going to go up here and set sprite mode for all of these to single. Set the filter mode to point no filter and click apply. Once I've done that, I'm just going to take each of these and drag them into my scene one at a time. So now that you have the background images in there, I'm going to select all of them, go to my position on top right hand corner and set them all to 0, 0, 0. Once we've done that, they all kind of get layered up on top of each other. Now, looking at this, I can see that this isn't the right size. This isn't going to make for a really good background. So I'll select all of these pieces of art that I worked with. So click the first one, hold on shift, click the last one, select them all. As far as pixels per unit, I'm going to set to 32. Click apply and see what happens. All right, that's pretty big. That probably would work. Might need some adjusting still, but that's something. Now, these sprites are layered in that they're designed to be kind of laid on top of each other. But we're going to need to do some adjusting as far as their actual position. On the top right-hand corner, you should see this little 2D button. If you click that, and it gets a little trippy, and you can move your mouse around and you can see the back of the images. We want the artwork to be in front of the actual background. Well, actually, let's do this now first before you even move that. I'm going to right-click, create empty, and I'm going to create an empty called background. I'm going to select all, actually, I'll set the background position before I do that to 0, 0, 0. And now I'm going to select the top of these fantasy pieces and the bottom one. Hold on shift to select the bottom one. Now they're all selected. And take them all and drag them into background. Now all of these are parented to the background. Now if I take background and I'm going to go ahead and move this back in the z-axis to, let's say 10 for now. If I turn the 2D view back on, nothing really much has changed. But now I won't get any weird clipping. If I press play, I now have a background. And I mean, this could be good enough to work with, but I think that there's actually opportunity for something cooler. I've actually already provided the script for you to do it. So if you go to your asset folder, go to scripts, you'll see a script here called Parallax script. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. So this is a script that will add a parallax effect to your background. So when you move, it looks like the layers are really showing up as layers, as in some things are in front of each other and the other things are behind it. We do not need to understand how this works. Part of this is using code that is provided for you or that you find online and making it work. But I can see that I have a couple of variables here. I have the starting variable, the starting position, and then the length of the sprites, which those are private, and those are set up within the script itself, so we don't have to worry about that. But we do have to worry about the public ones. So we have public float amount of parallax. This is the amount of parallax scroll, okay? And then public camera, main camera, reference to the camera. So this means that to use this, we're going to need to give it some numerical value for the amount of parallax, whatever that means, and then a reference to the main camera. Okay. Well, knowing that, if I take my top image here, right, this is the background, like the very back. If I attach the parallax script to it, so I can grab the parallax script and drag it over, or go to add component scripts and find it there. It wants the main camera and the amount of parallax. Well, I'll give the main camera first. It's easy enough. And I'm going to set the amount of parallax to an arbitrary value that I happen to know is right, 3. Well, what does that do? Well, we're not going to see it do anything yet. We'll get there though. To save myself some time, I'm going to select the top one and the bottom one that does not already have that script. And I'm going to drag the parallax script in. And with all of them still selected, I will set the main camera there. Now, each one of these have those settings set up, but they all have the same amount of parallax, which we need to change. With the top layer selected, and I'll notice the top layer because mine is labeled 00 at the end. This one, I'll leave it 0. For 1, I'm going to set this to 0.1. For 2, I'll set this to 0.2. Then 0.3 for the next one. For the fourth one, I'll do, let's give it a bit more space, 0.6. 5, I'll set this to 0.7. For 6, 0.8. And then for 7, I'll set it to 0.9. So this is defining the layer, where the higher the value, that means the closer it will be, or that it will look. But now we need to actually move these because they're on top of each other. If I turn off 2D, you can see that they're on top of each other. And some of the artwork's hidden, right? So I'm going to set this top layer and the Z-axis to drag that forward. Let's set this to like 2.8. And I'll set the very, very background layer to 3. And actually, I'm going to change the amount of parallax to 1 for this one. Sorry. So the background layer is going to be 3. The one in front of that, so 007, do 2.8. For this one, I'll do 2.6. Then the next one, 2.4. For the next one, I'll set the Z to 2.2. And then 2. And I'll do 1.8. Then 1.6. Then finally for that front layer, I'll do 1.4. Now I just kind of pick those variables, those values randomly. But with the 2D layer view set up, you can kind of see that they're stacked on top of each other, but they're layered. And I may want to actually adjust these placements a little bit later, but I'll leave it for now. Now, if I press play, what did this do? Well, you can see that the layers now kind of give you a, layered effect. It actually looks like some things are behind each other. Like the background shows more as you go. This is referred to as a parallax effect. And because we set this up using a script that we didn't have to worry about, we just were able to integrate a feature into our game without having to do the code. This is one of the perks of working with Unity, is that we have access to a lot of things that other people have already figured out for us, which makes life a lot easier. Now, I want the background to travel with the main camera. Let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to select background and then drag that into main camera. And press play. I get the same effect, but when I jump up and down, it looks a little bit cleaner. I then take that background and then adjust the height to kind of get to where I want it to be, and maybe adjust the size a bit. So I go to the original artwork, select all of these. Maybe instead of 32, I can set it to 16. And make everything bigger. Or maybe I want the opposite. Maybe I set 64 because I want a little smaller to be able to see the whole thing. Doing that, though, you run the risk of running to the edge of your background, which isn't really what you're looking for. So I'll set this back to 32 and just leave it at that for now. And now if you adjust the distance between these objects, so if you adjust the Z value, put some things closer. So I'll take this front thing and I put it way close. Take the one there, move it up a little bit. Take these other ones and kind of drag them back, so on and so forth. Without stressing too much about the actual numerical value. You can create more extreme effects. Because this is 2D, the depth isn't really all that important, other than how the layering works for something like this. I just think that's a lot more kind of visually interesting and visually engaging, especially if you have a really long level. And we'll worry about, well, what happens if you run off the edge a little bit later. But the point of this is that if you attach it to the main camera, wherever the main camera ends up going, your artwork will go. So even if you run off the edge, it should just kind of continue with. If you chose a different piece of artwork, the same general principles apply. So you could have set up a sandy kind of dune thing, or that fantasy graveyard. The same basic principles apply. It's all about layering and then attaching that parallax script, adjusting your values where you can set the amount of parallax, and that will change the behavior for how it all kind of fits together. So experiment with the values, see what happens. And I can see that that value was not going to work for that background. I got it way too fast. So I'll set that back to 20. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks.